Hey everyone, and welcome. We're going to give the rest of the attendees another minute or so to join us. While we wait, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. So, audience members are muted throughout the session. If you have any questions or technical difficulties, please use the question function on your Zoom toolbar, and I'll help you via chat during the presentation. Secondly, the session is being recorded, and it will be available later, so feel free to fully focus on the content today. Finally, we've included time for a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. So submit your questions and thoughts throughout the presentation, and then we'll have a lively Q&A discussion at the end. We're going to get started in just a minute here. I'm going to let some more people join the session. Today's session is a very interesting topic that I'm intrigued to hear about. So we'll get started in just a second.
So is it going to be interactive? Like, are they going to be able to speak or?
The audience will be muted, so they can't speak. For the audience members, you guys feel free to submit questions at any time, and then I'll be monitoring those, and I'll toss those over to Arif at the end of the session.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for our virtual summit. My name is Alex Weitzel, and I'm the Content Marketing Specialist at CourseKey. For those of you unfamiliar with us, we're a mobile attendance tracking platform used on more than 80 campuses across the country. We're very excited to be facilitating today's events, and I hope you'll attend as many as your schedule allows. For the next hour, we'll be hearing from Arif Joarder on the topic, Millennials in Higher Ed, Computers Are Not Technology. Arif is the founder and CEO of Orbund, a student information services company that some of you may be familiar with already. Orbund serves more than 300 campuses across the career college and higher ed sector. So like I said already, we're looking to have a lively Q&A discussion at the end. So feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation, and then we'll get to those towards the end. And finally, we'll end this presentation 5 minutes before 2 o'clock to honor our commitment to bringing you this content in under an hour. So without any further ado, it's my pleasure to pass the mic over to Arif. Arif, how you doing?
Hi, Alex. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Arif Joarder. From my accent, you can guess I'm among the new generation who came to America to make a better way. Technology is central to who I am. I actually came to the United States to study computer science, and I got both a bachelor's degree and master's in computer science. So I've been always a geek. And education is core to my mission and passion also. And it's also a mission of our company. Orbund is a student information system provider that's used by lots of career colleges and non-traditional institutions for running their institutions. And our job is to make things more efficient for students, instructors, and administrators. But that job is anything but easy. Like you, I have to rethink every day how we will stay ahead of the curve. Today, let's talk about the people that are the customer. It's the students. We have to change how we create technology because students are very different today than when I was in school. Just like I came to America and made a life, they have their own culture, their own way of seeing things. We can complain, we can wish for the old ways, or we can adapt. I say we must adapt and meet them on their terms in order to be of service. Because if we're not of service, they are lost, and that will be upon us if we lose our grip on the handle. For some of us, millennials remain a puzzle. We struggle to understand and relate to them. For others, we already look ahead at Generation Z, those following millennials into college. The others are the millennials. You are probably wondering what is there so hard to understand. Let's look at millennials and their impact on education and technology. We learned they have dramatically shifted how we teach and deliver the school experience. Then we will look at Generation Z, how they are different and the same as the millennials. Along the way, I hope to shed some light on how my company must change with the times and how we have learned to anticipate the trends as well. What are they all about? One thing is for sure, millennials will most definitely tell you what they want. If you have millennials in your workplace or life, you already know they want wellness over wealth, reduced hours, more than pay raise, experiences versus savings, skills versus theories, love versus family, and belonging and recognition. In surveys, the majority admit they are more narcissistic than previous generations, and they literally have no shame in being narcissists. Large portions still rely on mom and dad for money, starting to buy homes and have kids. So despite popular belief, they are growing older and settling down. Millennials are the most educated generation ever. 63% have a college education. 27% of females, 21% of millennial males have degrees. Only 20% of Generation X females and 18% of Generation X males completed degrees. And only 14% of females and 17% of male baby boomers have degrees. More women than men are entering college, first time ever. But student loan debt is $1 trillion. I'm not here with a way to solve that with software, but education is so costly, even as we see highest discounts ever on tuition, 50% per US News and reports. Millennials are savvy about educational choices. Millennials view education as an expense. The big takeaway here is this: an expense is unnecessary unless it's going to get an outcome, namely a job they want. Many do go to school or drop out until they find the right fit. This is a major shift from prior generations. Some call it swirling, going in and out of school, or transferring from one to another. This is why the portability of academic credits grows as an issue in higher education. Many things can be said about millennials, how they think and act. Here are 5 key game changers. These impacted how we teach and deliver services to these students. Computers are not technology. Meaning I was born and raised with an iPhone and tablet in my hand. Doing is better than knowing. I do not care about knowledge for knowledge's sake. Learning by losing, like a video game. I grew up playing video games and non-competitive league sports. I learned by failing and laugh at myself. What's with all this grading and testing? Don't waste my time, meaning don't be late, don't preach to me, don't weigh me down with useless details until I need it. And multitasking is the norm. My parents say they're multitasking, I'm multitasking. I play music with studying, with Snapchatting, and at the same time. Teachers have to adjust how to deliver. Flipped classroom, for example, students watch videos at home how to solve problems, then come to classes where the teacher solves homework. Team learning, no more rows. Students sit in groups and teach each other. Cooperative learning versus competitive academics. And administration had to change also. No bullying from the bursar's office. Someone pays a lot of money to attend college now. So don't make it worse. The customer experience is it easy to visit the school how I want? Let me leave me alone until I really am ready to talk to you. And old style recruiting changed. You must offer options, text, portals, telephone chat, social channels, etc. Those trends from K-12 on upwards carried into higher education over the last 10 years. But the student information systems, the enterprise systems running higher education, were designed back in the 1980s. That old style technology has been a major, oops, what do we do now for institutions? So take a look at this chart. Tomorrow's college students will spend more time using devices than sleeping and eating. Their time on what we know are computers, the iPhones and tablets, is more than an 8-hour shift on a job. This trend was going on 5 or more years ago. So how could you deliver online education using only a laptop version of the system for e-learning? How could you deliver college applications, grades, transcripts online on a desktop? These have been the challenges facing learning management systems and student information systems. That was a problem as little as 3 and 5 years ago for some of these systems. It remains a bit spotty even today. Some systems can deliver 80% of the experiences needed for the students on a phone, but that is very exceptional. Why? Older systems were built on older thinking. We are the institution, you come to us, we are the authority, you are like a new pledge, you have to walk the campus and stand in line. But that Generation X, students wanted to know how to do something. Not every little nook and cranny of world history. They worked in teams. Now we see our kids on desks with wheels to form groups quickly in the classroom. Heaven knows kids today will have a sleepover. They still sit around texting each other as they sit next to one another on a couch. This is new normal. For example, with our system, let's say you are recruiting a new student. The admissions representative has potentially hundreds of candidates for admission. How can Rob, our representative, keep track of all these candidates without seeming impersonal? We can personalize messages sent through SMS text messaging and respond to all individual student requests through text message. The same message can also go into an inbox via email with graphics and images. Here we'll invite the candidate to a tour. Next, we send a message about how well our alumni do and when they complete a degree. For example, our entry-level salaries are 25% above our peer schools. A few volleys later, the candidate has visited our campus. We follow up with a thank you and a call to action. Then they would click on a link to start enrollment. These days, many of these seem almost simple and everyday. Meanwhile, on the other side of the equation are the instructors and the administrative staff. This is the expense side of the ledger for institutions. We've heard about the dramatic rise in discounting, known as scholarships, pressures on costs, as will happen in business, come down on major cost centers. In the case of education, instructors and staff are often tasked to manage more responsibility, but real wages have not kept pace. We all know teachers are historically underpaid and overworked. How does my company have to do with the economics of higher education? Actually, we have a lot of work to cut out for us. think of for a moment about student advising. Advising is about staying ahead of each student's progress and engagement. What's their major? What's their progress? Will they complete a degree? What courses do they need? Does the department offer enough sections? Let's look at the day of in the life of an instructor. A lot has changed in the days when most professors were tenured. As this instructor shared in the online magazine, Inside Higher Ed, these are not Warren Buffett wages. Meanwhile, instructors are being asked not only to teach, but also take attendance, sense when a student may be at risk of dropping, communicate with their administrators, constantly report to students and the administration on things beyond grades and attendance. These are challenging times to be an adjunct or instructor in higher education. What can systems do to make things simpler for our instructor? We're not going to persuade the school to hire more headcount to do attendance or grade papers, but we can automate attendance tracking and reporting. We can automate workflows that alert administrators when a student may fail. We can aim to free the instructor from administrative work. We know the workload is not in our power to control at Orbund, so we just have to continue to build features that try to compensate for the reality. Almost everyone knows what a learning management system is. We think of Blackboard or Canvas in our business. Those are leading LMS systems. When we went further and embedded tools to automate quizzes and tests, we have been reviewing tools all in the same portal. So the instructors don't need to switch between one application and another. And when it used to take about 30 to 40 minutes to really read and comment on one student's composition, this is a contributor to workload. By embedding tools, we can eliminate the switching around from Microsoft to Blackboard to this and that. A great majority of the students' work can be submitted, reviewed, and graded in one place. Advising. Now let's look at the role of the advisor. Job number one is to keep students progressing and earn a degree on time. Now I know looking at these screen captures from an enterprise software is not a Disney movie, but I share this because we must build simpler ways for the student advisor to do her job. Behind the screen, there's all kinds of logic going on. Each student's past and current course loads, grades, and do they meet the standards for their program, specific courses in the catalog relevant to the degree. This lets the student walk in or call into the advisor. She puts up a screen, has a meaningful discussion. Here are the courses you need to take. Here are the credits you are always away from your goal, and you can do this, she says. Plus, the student also can get this snapshot in his or her portal. Everyone is on the same page. Career paths, more and more, the trend has been to hit the gas on relationships with employers. This was once community colleges and technical schools. For-profit schools are federally required to demonstrate meaningful placements with the 90-10 rule, but more traditional institutions must follow suit. Why? As we said, millennials don't want to waste their time. They would rather defer or drop out than take classes that mean nothing to them. So we've built tools to help manage relationships and opportunities with employers. We can let companies and students share information and connect. Students can have a portfolio available only to employers that wish to see it. Today's students want a result and an outcome. Legislators want an outcome, parents want an outcome. We must build that into the software. So what next? As millennials become instructors and administrators, who are the recruiting and teaching? Generation Z is now upon us. These are the next wave of college-bound students. Some are freshmen this year. As you digest all the information on this slide, let me say this. Generation Z are more digital natives than the millennials. Generation Z are communication addicts. They want to have a dialogue all the time. Social networks are the neighborhood. Consumption is focused on the digital, so there is unlimited supply. At least in their minds, right? There is limitless supply. Our first world youths, like millennials and Generation Z, live with first world problems. So we like to think. But there is, in fact, greater disparity between rich and poor than the baby boomers. What this means for higher education: fluid and flexible teaching and learning, higher levels of energy and communication, encouraging uniqueness and individuality, all to honor them and keep them engaged. Moving students more rapidly to outcomes because education is not getting more affordable. In many ways, Generation Z is a lot like our millennials. Dialogue, pragmatic, connecting through virtual interactions, connecting on the basis of small things and notions. They are inclusive. They don't want to be put into a box. Contrast this to how our parents and grandparents may have seen life. Are you going to join the Greek fraternity and be a Greek? Are you a business major? Are you aligned to this or that group? We will see new generations as floaters. They will be comfortable bouncing between groups and affiliations. Belief systems will be things we find challenging or scary to us. They may mix and match what they believe. They may even find it not logical or lacks consistency. How does this change the technology? This is my job as CEO of Orbund. This generation strives for self-sufficiency and freedom. This reminds me of very much of baby boomers and immigrant populations. They want to start businesses. 1 in 5 already find ways to make money online. Nearly as many intend to work for themselves. This is not the gig economy. It looks like it now, but these kids will expand small businesses in the United States. They may well be the ones who revive the idea of a middle class. Those ambitions and goals mean we must teach practical things. It also means they do not want to waste money on impractical. So we must teach foundations, but also their application. For example, have you ever wondered why children leave high school, but they never have to take a course in managing their personal finances? There is no classwork that I know of in cost-benefit analysis of a college degree versus skilled trades. We're doing a disservice, in my opinion. We expel very important foundations, but we let opportunities go by. We have time during the K-12 life cycle to teach our children real-world, simple financial thinking. After all, it goes directly to thinking about what I will do for a living and what I must learn to attain my goal. the road behind the road ahead. We're doing better than some might think. The report from the field is today's student does feel the education and the experience at the institution have been very favorable. The great majority of graduates, 82%, are satisfied with their college education and experience, providing a strong vote of confidence for American higher education. 3/4 of graduates, 75%, cite faculty members as top contributors to helping them achieve their educational goals, reinforcing the vital importance of faculty in the student experience. 2/3 of graduates, 63%, believe their educational experience was worth the investment, revealing room for improvement in the cost-value proposition. And 2/3 of graduates, 64%, felt a sense of belonging at their university. One of several important dimensions of personal experience driving high satisfaction. These indicators, despite any headlines or moaning, tell us we're doing a good job in educational delivery and experiences. Yes, we can always do better, but the system is not in chaos by any measure. Many games are in play right now with many incubators in support of new educational technologies. If we boil things down, there are 4 key areas to watch for. Openness. Older legacy systems are well known for being slow or close to integrations. These add-on applications that innovators want to do depend upon openness on code levels. It is one of the reasons why we designed our Orbund SIs on a more open and advanced platform. We don't pretend we will be the only system on the campus. We'll play with the others. Mobility, Generation Z, even more than millennials, learn better when it is like a scrum. They can teach each other. This changes the style of lecture halls. It will require materials and student data that are easier to access on mobile platform. Number 3 is open resources. Not only are open resources more available, major institutions are making top-notch texts and tools available for free. Universities will continue integrating those into their curriculum, provide great quality and cost savings for students. Number 4 is analysis and machine learning. Did you know that if you glance below the top 10 institutions in the US news rankings, the student turnover rate in year 1 and 2 is more than 18%. Institutions need more advanced machine learning and predictive ways to know if students are at risk. It is shown that GPA or being behind on payment will, while helpful, are not the major causes. Students who transfer or drop report it is because they basically don't feel something. Feelings are lack of engagement, friends' sense of community or support. That means more data points are needed to predict those kinds of feelings and grade points and student ledger versus grade points and student ledgers. Concluding, we really have done a better job than we give ourselves credit for. Millennials report on the whole being satisfied that their college education was worth the price. At the root, we have progressive educators and technology. Technology's role will continue to become more integrated and natural. Students don't see devices as computers, they're natural extensions to themselves. Instructors and administrators also face a changing of guard. So technology must become more open and easier to use. Excuse me. That idea of simplicity that scales to serve large bodies of students and data is core to our mission too at Orbund. Based on these trends and lessons learned, we see no other way than to swim with the Generation Z on the horizon. Thank you very much. And now I'm happy to answer any questions if you have.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, Arif. That was a great presentation. To our audience, we're going to open it up to questions right now. So feel free to submit your questions, and I'll give you a second to do that. Arif, I have a question for you while we're waiting for those questions to come in. You talked a lot about the tendencies and characteristics of millennials, and while you were talking about them, I was really hearing some things that are very true about myself and my peers. Because for those who don't know, I'm a millennial as well. And I'm wondering how you came to find out so much about millennials and how they think about education and their experiences at school, or their just general tendencies.
Well, we deal with career colleges all the time. Almost all our clients are career colleges. So we see the challenges they face, especially keeping students in school. It all starts from the very first time when you have a prospective student, knock on you, and from then it starts. At every moment, the school is struggling to understand the student. To make sure the student is switched on, and the school is able to give the student what he or she wants. So that is so much different than, let's say, 20, 30 years ago. When we went to school, we had to actually, look for how to get admission, how to do this, how to do that. And now the schools have to go to the students, to help them with the admission process. We help them why they, why they should choose this career path, or how they can assist the student with their career choices and things like that, or education choices. So, traditionally, the students would go to the school, and the students have to do the research to make the right decisions and things like that. Now, the schools have to be more involved, with the students. So I see that a lot with our clients, and so that's the reason I decided to bring out this topic.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we have 3 questions here. I'm going to start with the first one. It says, I teach high school 10th through 12th grade. We try to utilize the phones in our classrooms as part of a lesson. Are we getting them more addicted to their phones by doing this?
Well, you have to accept the reality that they are already communicating through the phones. So this is just a way to reach them, get closer to them, really. Otherwise, they would just switch off. But yeah, I do agree that we need to find a way to balance so our kids do not get addicted to devices. But at the same time, we have to keep in mind that if we do not connect with them, then we'll lose them.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. For the next question, it says, how are adult career students different than traditional out of high school? How is your system different to help these schools or program?
Um, Adult career students, as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, they care more about what are they going to get out of this education. They're not really necessarily interested about the title of the degree, but how is this degree going to serve me for whatever amount of money I'm spending on this degree? Is this going to give me a job for, what's the ROI on it? Is the job going to be, is the job going to pay for this education, really? So in traditional schools, people may get into a traditional degree just because they want to just go through the flow, like tradition. I come originally from Bangladesh, and I think you probably know most Asians, the parents push them to become engineers or doctors, and not anything else. You cannot be an artist. You cannot be that. You cannot be, you cannot study music or literature or any, So,
Right.
So nowadays, the millennials, they don't care about that. They care about, am I going to get a job in this particular thing that I love?
Yeah.
So is the degree worth it? If I, whatever education I'm getting from this institution, is it going to be worth, is it going to align with my choices?
Right.
For career and future growth.
Okay, thank you. So the next question that we have here is, more and more students are taking high school and college online. Do you see this more and more in our future? And what is the future for teachers and instructors?
I'm sorry, would you repeat the question?
Sure thing. More and more students are taking high school and college online. Do you see this more in our future? What is the future for teachers and instructors?
Yeah, certainly. Online education is just set to grow more and more as people look for more convenience, and they look to save time. They also try to do more in less time, or in the same amount of time. So online education just adds that extra level of accessibility and convenience. So it is set to grow. It's just that institutions and software providers like ourselves, we have to also innovate so that we provide solutions. We provide a way of learning that is engaging the students, and it's not disconnected education. Even if it's online, we have to be very, very connected. We have to be very, very collaborative with the students,
Right.
for the online education to succeed. But that is certainly the way to go for the future.
Okay. Yeah. So we had a comment, and I'd like to know your thoughts on this. The comment says, I hear my own Gen Z daughter speak about high school in the same way as the millennials. It is more of a check the box activity to get to the next step, which is college. What do you think about that, Arif?
Sorry?
I'll read the question, or the comment. One of our attendees left a comment, and I'm curious to know what your thoughts are in response to it. She says, I hear my own Gen Z daughter speak about high school in the same way as millennials. It's more of a check the box activity to get to the next step, which is college.
Yeah. In that way, the Gen Z and millennials are same, right? So they, they want to go straight to the point, what they want to achieve,
Yeah.
they don't, they don't want to walk all the steps.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. Okay, we have two more questions here. This one says, I'm seeing a lot of expensive digital boot camps popping up in the marketplace. They're geared towards millennials that want to up skills and find a job, and they're willing to pay the money to get through the boot camp. Do you think this trend will continue, and how do you see it evolving?
Um, yeah, it's um, as we give more convenience, people are interested to um, learn also as quickly as they can, right? I mean, how can we deliver the same amount of information or how can we learn the same amount of information in a shorter time is a challenge. But the millennials and Generation Z are always asking for it. Like, for example, they will say, okay, this degree is, 4 years. How can I learn whatever people learn in 4 years in 2 years or 1 year?
Yeah.
And but sometimes it's not possible, but that is the challenge. That new generation, they are always looking to fast track that learning process.
Right. Yep, I think that's true. So the last question I have here for you is that you mentioned the Generation Z are used to and are expecting a more mobile experience. When it comes to school and college, what is included in that mobile experience? Or a few things that are included in the experience?
Well, in the mobile experience, of course, as you would see that people with, they want to be able to communicate with their class, with their instructors, be able to see their progress in class, and all that from their mobile phone. And more and more companies are getting into gamification techniques, how they can engage the students better by gamifying the tools, and they try to increase their engagement in the classroom that way. In Orbund, in addition to these, we are also looking into how we can even, help students access their information without even looking at the screen. Because as someone pointed out, that are we getting these kids to be screen addicts, right? So we are, as you probably know, we are going to have our own Orbund Vision User Group Conference next week. And one solution we're going to roll out is Alexa integration. That means on your mobile phone, if you have Alexa, you would be able to ask Alexa, what your schedule is, when your next homework assignment is, if you have any homework assignments, if you have any messages from your instructors, things like that, without having to even look at your phone. So people, as you, some of your some of the questions we've heard, people have less and less time. They want to do more in less time. So As the students are driving to school, they may ask the Alexa on their phone, "Hey, what's my class schedule and in which building is going to be?" Right, so they can drive straight to that class. Or if also with our software, with Alexa integration, we are allowing the school administrators and registrars, for example, to also be able to do their job faster. So, for example, you are in a meeting room and you want to know how many new registrations you had since yesterday or something like that. You can just ask Alexa in the meeting room, without having to look for these reports on your computer, log into computer and, pull up a report like that. So, yeah, so this is one area where Orbund is investing a lot also.
Okay. Yeah, that Alexa example is pretty cool and is a perfect example of how the evolution, it's a perfect example of the evolution of how people are interacting with their school information or different aspects of their daily lives at school. So that's really cool. So it looks like we've gotten through all of the questions. I'm gonna give us about 30 more seconds to see if anyone has any last minute questions. So I'm gonna set the timer for that.
All right.
Yeah, so I guess we've answered everyone's questions. So
thank you everyone for your questions.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you, Arif. That was a wonderful presentation. And for our audience members, thanks for spending part of your time with us today. Arif, thanks for your expertise on the topic of millennials and higher ed. That was really interesting. And I think it's has taught some people a few things about how the education sector is moving and some things that we consider in the future. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. As a reminder to our audience, we have one more session today. So if you haven't signed up for that and you're interested in it, you can do that on our website, CourseKey.com. Also online, you can sign up for our mailing list to get alerts for all future content, such as webinars, blogs, and any other programming. So thank you, everyone, and I hope to see you in our last session. Take care.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.